And good morning to Christopher Hinteregger, my dear colleague and friend out of Vienna, who is the Managing Director of PKF Tourism Experts. Good morning, Christopher.
Hello, Nils.
Are you doing well in lockdown or semi-lockdown? Vienna has just relaxed a little bit, hasn't it? For Austria.
Yeah, a little bit. They started last week that some of the shops are now open again, and we can do a little bit more things outdoors. We will see what will be the effects, but looks like the government reacted in a very fast and hard way and showed some success.
Right. Yeah, now here in South Africa, where I'm based in Cape Town, we're still locked up at least until the end of the week, and then maybe we're allowed to walk the dog and do jogging, but it looks like it's going to be another little while stuck at home. Tell me, you have got a global view of destinations. I mean, destinations are suffering, hotels are suffering, other industries are suffering, but we are the hotel experts, you're the tourism experts. What are the likely scenarios that we are seeing or going to see when things open up again? And they're opening up in stages in the various destinations, but also, you know, not every destination is opening up at the same time. What's the landscape there?
I think it's very difficult to really have a valid forecast because there are so many uncertainties now, and there are so many things we are not aware of. It depends so much on government decisions. The government decisions are not based on the interest of tourism. They are based on health-related issues, obviously. So there are a lot of uncertainties, and there are some kind of ideas how to proceed between different countries to maybe open borders again. But everything is already or still very vague, and we need to see and follow just the directions the governments are kind of deciding for us. But nevertheless, I think it's very likely that we will have 3 phases of recovery, so to say. I think the first one will be the phase we are hitting, especially here in Central Europe, in Austria and Germany, in the next couple of weeks, where we will be allowed to travel a little bit, but borders will still be closed. So there will be a certain demand generated from the local population. And this is something that can, in the first phase, help local tourism facilities and hotels to generate some demand when they are open again. I mean, in Austria, they are talking about the mid of May, end of May, to open the hotels and the restaurants again. Then we will see if this is successful and can be done and is stable. And then you can start thinking about, okay, who can be my guests and who could be the clients? So this will be kind of the first phase. And then the second phase, when there will be some countries where the virus is not or there are not that many infected people anymore, so where it's contained, so to say. And then people will start thinking about, okay, maybe we go cross-border, but only to places that are close. Nevertheless, I don't think they will jump into the plane and fly to an exotic, faraway, long-haul destination. But they will start thinking about going cross-border. That could be something for those destinations that are close to other markets, to other countries. If there are some bilateral agreements between countries, that this could be kind of the second phase. And then the third phase will obviously be when we have a vaccination or some medicine available to cure it or to cure it in a better way. Then I think slowly it will start getting back to full recovery of also the international travel we have seen before the crisis hits us.
Right. Yeah, not a great situation for sure, but domestic tourism does seem to be the first one that looks at recovery, and blessed are those that have a domestic market that they can satisfy and look at. There are many destinations that don't. I think I mentioned once before that Amsterdam, for example, with the Dutch market not being very big by nature, but yet Amsterdam being a very big destination, that there will be some suffering hit there.
Yes.
Sorry, Karen?
I agree. I think that in the end we have a different situation in different countries in Europe. We have those countries where tourism is very important, like Spain or France or Italy. They will definitely suffer if there are not that many people coming to their country, but at least they have high volume, a high number of local citizens, local population that can somehow balance this kind of decrease that is expected. But then we have smaller countries like Austria, like Croatia, like Montenegro. They highly depend on foreign arrivals, and they don't have that many local people that to balance this kind of decrease in international arrivals. So that's also one of the reasons why those countries now start to find ways of kind of saving their industry to a certain extent. But it's always, of course, the economy minister or the tourism minister who wants, you know, to kind of have a certain initiative to bilateral agreements. It's at the end of the day always a decision of the overall government and the health experts to say whether this is possible or not.
Yeah. Now, the big markets like Germany, outbound markets like Germany, like the UK, France, I suppose as well, America to a degree. I think there will be so much pent up demand, and you may have some stats already. So much pent up demand to just get out of the house, never mind out of the country. That those that cannot travel internationally, that would have traveled internationally but cannot travel internationally, will also feed into the domestic market, which may have not been their main objective or their main interest at the beginning. Now, scanning like you do the global scene, are there any markets, any initiatives, any campaigns that you've seen that really grab you by in terms of their innovation, in terms of their ideas, what they bring forward to recover?
I think it was interesting to follow the development over the last couple of weeks, because the first was definitely this kind of shock moment, because nobody expected that something like the lockdowns and closed borders will happen. Coincidentally, I just read at the weekend a report by the World Tourism Organization. They have produced for the 2009 crisis, where there was kind of a problem with a virus, with this H1N1 virus that started to spread. And they were thinking about what could happen if there will be a pandemic situation. And a lot of things are very similar to the current situation, but nobody actually was forecasting or taking into consideration that complete countries will have a lockdown or that there will be closed borders. So that's a completely new situation for everybody. So everybody was just thinking about, okay, how can they react? And then obviously the national tourism organizations were the first ones to start with certain initiatives of kind of stay home at the moment, travel later, experience something online now, but you know, dream now and then experience later. And this is a very similar pattern you can see in many countries that they are following this approach now of kind of inspiring the people for future travels and somehow engage them with the local habits, with the local literature, with local food, kind of sharing recipes. So this is kind of to the outside markets, the initiatives they are doing. And then it's very important that destinations also start to work internally to communicate with their tourism stakeholders in the destination so that they are kind of aware of what will happen and what is the likely scenario for the next couple of months for them. So to kind of make this information flow very, very good. And then the third thing is obviously that they need to start thinking about what to do next year, yeah, and how to plan for those different kind of phases that are very likely to happen, yeah. So what can we do right now regarding our budget we are going to have next year, for example, because a lot of destinations depend from a budget point of view from the amount of overnights they are generating this year. So there will be a decrease in budget for next year. Maybe not all the marketing activities on all the markets are possible next year. So this has to be also taken into consideration now. And obviously also for this period of first border openings and until the time we have a vaccination, what can be done? What kind of products, yeah, people are more likely to be attracted to, yeah? It will not be any place that is overcrowded and mass tourism site people would like to go as their first trip. It's very likely that people look for something where they can be a little bit on their own and spend time in nature. So those kind of places will benefit, and this kind of activities needs to be kind of pushed forward in the communication for this second phase, I would say. And then we also have to distinguish between those effects that are currently the short-term effects on the tourism industry and the long-term effects. I think on the short term, obviously a lot of tourism facilities, hotels might face difficulties, especially if their local, if their national governments are not supporting with subsidy programs or supporting programs. Then they could run into troubles, and it's very difficult if from one day to the other you all of a sudden don't have any revenues. But in the long term, I think there will be some effects of this current crisis we will see in destinations and also in product. But I think that on a global scale, in the mid and long term, it will go back and it will recover. Tourism industry is something very strong. It's something a lot of people want to do, to travel and experience different cultures, different nations. So this is something where we might see a shift in tourism flows for a certain period of time, also when there is a vaccination. But on the long term, I think it will not stop the overall development of tourism globally seen.
Right. My goodness, time is running out. You answered the questions that I didn't even ask, but I was about to ask, you know, the trend, how it's going to go back and will it go back and whatever. And I also, I mean, obviously we've been speaking to a few people, and you know, being based in a wonderful city like Cape Town, where tourism is a major player, and international tourism in particular too, you know, one wonders how things will develop. But I agree, the vaccine, or how to deal with the direct impact, how to understand a little bit more about this, or a lot more about the virus, is really key. Christopher, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with your initiatives. Good luck with helping many destinations and countries and so forth to make it out of this crisis. And we'll speak very, very soon. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nils. Bye-bye.